Today I'll be talking about our all-new dive watch, the Hydrotimer. As a disclaimer, I'll be spending less time talking about the specs of this watch and more time talking about the design intent, purpose, and discussing the overall why behind this watch. So think of this less as a review that you're used to watching and more about discovering who we are and what we're trying to accomplish at Jack Mason. With that, let's start off with the general spec list, as it's still vital to the foundation of a well-built tool watch. The Hydrotimer case body is built upon the platform of the Strat-o-timer GMT, making this watch 40 millimeters in width with a lug-to-lug dimension of 47 millimeters. The thickness is 13 millimeters, which includes the boxed sapphire crystal, and lands at about 11.2 millimeters without it. The 3-link bracelet comes in at 20 millimeters at the case and tapers to 16 millimeters, and it features the same toolless micro-adjusting buckle that you see on the Strat-o-timer, which has been very well received due to the ease of use. In addition, because they share the same case body, the bracelet on the Hydrotimer is actually interchangeable with the Strat-o-timer and vice versa. This allows you to completely change the look of your watch from something more tool-like to a more elevated and refined appearance with the 7-link bracelet. You get to choose which bracelet your watch comes on. At 300 meters of water resistance and a screw-down crown, the Hydrotimer certainly meets the performance criteria of a true dive watch. The closed case back features a new design with the Jack Mason logo in the center, surrounded by additional pieces of information, including American assembly. An exciting new feature we added is scratch resistance. The Hydrotimer has a special coating on the bracelet and case that comes in at 1200 Vickers on the hardness scale. What this means is that it'll protect you from minor scratches or dings that otherwise might occur. Inside, the Hydrotimer features a Miyota 9039 automatic movement, which is the no-date version of the highly reliable and popular 9015 caliber. I'll get into why we made the design choice of this movement a little bit later. By now, you're probably wondering how these specs make this watch so special. After all, it's nothing you haven't seen before. I'll be the first to tell you that nothing about these specs make this watch special. It's not supposed to. In fact, it's almost impossible to build a better dive watch purely based on specs in a sea of thousands of dive watches. No pun intended. So instead, I'm going to share with you where our focus was and is going to continue to be on as we move forward. Let's start with design. The idea of the Hydrotimer was actually originated by many of you who own the Strat-o-timer. We received so many requests about making a dive watch based on this case, we couldn't ignore that. So let's get into some of the details. The bezel actually comes in 2 different materials depending on the style. The first material, which is ceramic, comes in 2 finishings. The first is a black polished finish coupled with a high polished dial featuring gilded hands and indices for an overall luxurious and light-catching look. The lume fill on the dial comes with an abundance of BGW9, and the bezel is filled with light old radium, which features a matching blue glow as on the dial details. The second is a bead-blasted ceramic coupled with a dusty metallic white dial, which is an absolute stunner. A matte white finish typically comes across too flat and dull, but this sandy metallic finish really provides some depth while accomplishing an overall matte look. Due to the bead-blasted finish on the black ceramic bezel, the color actually comes across as a dark gray. So in order to match that on the dial, the handset and indices are gunmetal, which makes it pop against the dial and makes this a highly legible display of information. The lume sequence on this version is unique, as it features light old radium in 2 different glow colors. The 12369 glow in green, while the other hours glow in blue. The minute hand also glows in green together with the first 15 minutes on the bezel, while the rest of the bezel markings glow in blue. While we are on the subject of lume, the non-ceramic bezel version of the Hydrotimer is one for the lume junkies out there. The entire bezel is filled with BGW9 lume and covered by a sapphire insert for a nice, high-quality finish and scratch-resistant surface. This makes it super fun for those enthusiasts who like to purposely get their watch just in the right sunlight before walking indoors somewhere. Or is that just me? The FKM Tropic Strap is not just any Tropic Strap. We created new molds to modify the classic style with added features with the keepers that make wearing the strap more practical. The inner keeper is held in place with small tabs to make sure that first pass-through is constantly secure. The second keeper and the strap tip have a locking mechanism built in so that you don't have that terrible look of the strap tip out in space in the middle of nowhere. We all know this look. The keeper has a hole with a matching debossed Lone Star detail on the strap tip to make sure this or this never happens again. As mentioned in the specs, we decided on the no-date Miyota 9039 for a couple of reasons. One was that a no-date movement provides the ability to create a design of absolute symmetry, which was the leading design intent of the Hydrotimer. The other reason was simple. We took a poll on which version you guys preferred, and the no-date was the winning choice. I get into all the nitty-gritty details about the design in our Design to Watch series on the Hydrotimer, so you can click on the link in the corner if you'd like to learn more. So we've covered the specs and overall design, but we haven't talked about our why. And as I mentioned at the start of this video, this is the part that defines what the Hydrotimer means for us. When we saw the success of the Strat-o-timer, followed by the requests for a dive watch, we started to think that we might have the beginnings of an iconic watch platform for Jack Mason. So instead of redesigning our previous dive watches, we wanted to take this opportunity to start from scratch and create a newer, better, and more thoughtful dive watch that was meant to be in our collection indefinitely. We wanted to build an icon. Now, as I mentioned before, the specs on the Hydrotimer aren't going to blow you away, and it wasn't meant to. However, that doesn't mean we put less effort into it. In fact, we put more into this dive watch than any of our other ones, making this by far the best dive watch we feel that we've made. Our intentions for this watch, however, were ones that you can't see on a spec sheet. When we launched Jack Mason in 2015, we positioned ourselves in a thriving market in the fashion watch space and found immediate success. Where we were then and where we are today are two very different pictures, but one thing remained constant at all times. The product never stopped getting better. We have grown as watchmakers, and my passion for watches have grown with it. In the last year, we took a step back, counted our blessings for our success so far, and set a greater vision of becoming a legacy watch brand out of our home state of Texas. What did that mean for us? It meant investing in US assembly and movement regulation. That's why the Hydrotimer is our first dive watch that's assembled with a regulated movement here in the US. We strive to adjust to within plus or minus 5 seconds per day. This was a milestone for us and a win for the industry as more brands start to bring assembly to the US. We wanted to be a part of this effort and be a part of the cause. While it does come at a higher cost, the overall value it places on the watch is well worth it. It also reinforces our efforts in establishing long-term roots here in the US and becoming a legacy brand. It provides better quality control and quicker servicing, which ultimately leads to a better quality of life with your Jack Mason watch for many years ahead. We've been around for 8 years and are investing in ourselves for the next 8 and beyond. I know I've covered a variety of topics here, but as I mentioned at the start, this isn't your typical watch review. This was a video about what the Hydrotimer means for us and what it symbolizes going forward. It represents a culmination of where we started as a brand, where we are today, and where our sights are for the future. And that was an important goal for us. Thank you for watching and taking the time to allow me an opportunity to talk about how we think behind the scenes and work through product, brand, and storytelling that goes beyond the watch itself. If you'd like to hear more about anything else, please comment below. I'd love to hear from you, and we'll create more videos like these based on what you guys want to see. So don't forget to subscribe and stay up to date on all the new exciting things happening with the brand. Also, please follow us on Instagram and join our Facebook group where we frequently post exclusive content as well as surveys to make sure we stay connected with you. Thanks, y'all.